Erling Haaland had never seen his country play in a World Cup before this summer. Not once. Not on television. Not in a stadium. Not anywhere. He was born 2 years after Norway's last appearance in the tournament. Now, at 25 years old, he's the reason an entire nation is watching its first World Cup in 28 years unfold in real time. How does a player carry a country back into history on his own shoulders? Start with the weight itself, because it explains why this moment means so much more than a normal World Cup run. Norway's last World Cup appearance came in 1998, in France, where the team famously beat Brazil in their final group match to reach the knockout rounds. Haaland wasn't alive to see it happen. His own father, Alfie Haaland, played for Norway at the World Cup once, back in 1994, when the team failed to advance out of the group stage. For 28 years after that, Norway simply wasn't part of the conversation. Qualification attempt after qualification attempt fell short. Tournament after tournament passed without them. An entire generation of Norwegian football fans grew up never once watching their country compete on this stage. Then came qualifying for 2026, and Norway didn't just squeak through. They went undefeated across their entire qualification campaign, 8 wins in 8 matches, including 2 victories over Italy, scoring 37 goals along the way while conceding only 5. That kind of dominance doesn't happen by accident. It happens when a generational talent is finishing nearly everything that comes his way. Consider what Haaland has actually done once the tournament started, because the numbers get harder to believe the further you look. 7 goals in 5 matches through the group stage and early knockout rounds, tying him with Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappé for the tournament's top scoring pace. In Norway's opening match against Iraq, he scored twice in the first half alone. Norway were left out of the World Cup conversation almost entirely before the tournament began, with pre-tournament headlines dominated by talk of Messi, Ronaldo, and Mbappé instead. Haaland has spent the entire tournament quietly rewriting that narrative, one match at a time. The moment that changed everything came in the round of 16, against Brazil, 5-time champions, and one of the most storied programs in the sport's history. The match stayed close, decided in Norway's favor by a goalkeeper's penalty save, and, in the closing minutes, 2 goals from Haaland himself, a thumping header followed by a strike he later described as almost happening in slow motion. Norway had eliminated Brazil from the World Cup. For the first time in the nation's history, they advanced to the quarterfinals. Haaland described it afterward as one of the most emotional nights of his life, saying the moment brought him to tears, and that no matter what happened next, nothing could take that feeling away from the country that had waited nearly 3 decades to feel it. What makes Haaland's story different from most modern superstars isn't just the scoring. It's how he became famous in the first place. While players like Messi, Ronaldo, and Mbappé built their global reputations through years of traditional highlight reel dominance, Haaland's rise carried something different alongside it. A playful, self-aware social media presence that made him feel less like a distant icon and more like someone you'd actually recognize from your own group chat. Somehow, a 6'5" striker built like very little else in modern football became one of the most relatable figures in the sport. At the same time, he became one of the most physically dominant. Ask yourself what it actually takes to carry that much pressure and still perform at this level. Haaland has said publicly that reaching a World Cup with Norway has been his primary goal since his international debut back in 2019, describing the weight of that expectation as intense, but as something he's learned to embrace rather than fear. He's talked about putting more pressure on himself than anyone else ever could, treating the enormity of the moment as fuel rather than a burden. Norway's head coach has pointed to Haaland's growth as a leader, not just a goal scorer, as one of the defining developments of his career over the past several years. Is it the goals that made him a leader, or did learning to lead make the goals come easier? As Norway prepares to face England in the quarterfinals, Haaland has downplayed his own team's chances publicly, calling their odds of winning the tournament really low and redirecting the pressure back onto England as one of the pre-tournament favorites. Whether that's genuine humility or a calculated way of loosening his own team's shoulders before the biggest match in the country's modern footballing history remains an open question. What isn't in question is what Norway has already accomplished, regardless of how the rest of the tournament plays out. A first-ever World Cup quarterfinal. A stunning victory over 5-time champions Brazil. A 28-year wait, finally broken. by a player who wasn't even born the last time his country reached this stage.